Alright everybody, welcome back! Today we're taking a look at one of the planes that I feel like has been kind of overshadowed this patch, and that's the Mirage 4000. So as I'm sure everybody knows, the F-15 is my baby. But I'm actually having a lot more fun in this plane this patch, surprisingly. And to be honest, I'm a little shocked that it was added in the first place, because I wasn't expecting Gaijin to add 4 new top-tier airframes in a single update. The most I could think about before that was 3. I'm also surprised they added this as a texture vehicle in the first place, considering it was a prototype vehicle, but I mean, hey, I'm not complaining, it's super cool. So what this does is it basically takes a Mirage 2000 and doubles it. Well, of course, there's a bit more to that, but you get double the number of missiles. You can carry 8 now instead of 4, which is already a massive improvement. More missiles are always better in top tier. And of course, you also get 2 Mirage 2000 engines without double the weight. So you also get a nice improvement in flight performance. So flight performance-wise, this thing is amazing. As far as I'm aware, it is actually the best dogfighter at top tier now. I've heard from very reliable sources that it actually beats the F-16 Block 10 in a dogfight, and considering the Gripen was nerfed a little bit and it no longer beats the Block 10, this thing is looking very, very good. It is a little bit slower than the Mirage 2000, unfortunately, but it's still more than fast enough. You're going to hit like Mach 1.22 on the deck. That's good enough for top tier. It's not as fast as some of the other top tier planes like the Mi-29, for example, but for the majority of the time, you're not really going to have a big issue with catching people. Now, I would actually recommend only running 20 minutes of fuel, because that amazing flight performance only really comes out below around, 10 minutes or so of gas. And these engines are pretty efficient anyway, so I can't even think of a time that I actually ran out of fuel in the first place whenever I was using it. This is, of course, a Delta, so you will be bleeding speed whenever you're turning, but the engines are so powerful that for the most part, you're not going to have a major problem keeping your speed up. Even in sustained dogfights, which I feel really weird saying considering this is a Delta, but it just has so much thrust that it really just does not care. So for once, you actually get the benefit of good AOA without all the downsides that come with a typical Delta wing design. Weaponry-wise, this is much, much better than what we have been used to in the past from the other Mirages. So you can carry up to 4 R530s. However, I wouldn't actually do that, because one of the R530 pylons, as you can see right there, I have a double magic launcher on those little fuel tanks right there. Yeah, that's where that R530D pair goes. So I wouldn't give up 4 magics for 2 R530s, especially in this, low-flying meta that we have right now. Honestly, I'd say most radar missiles are just going to fly into the ground. But 6 magic 2s and 2 R530Ds is nothing to sneeze at. Now, the R530Ds are nothing really special. I'd say they're a little bit worse than the AIM-7M. I feel like they have a better seeker head, but don't quote me on that, that's just a feeling. A little bit less range, a little bit more pull, and they're going to be alright. They'll work as just your typical SAR, although they will, of course, still be cleared by the R27ER, so I would not recommend trying to go, head on with any Russian aircraft right now. The real star of the show, of course, are going to be those 6 Magic 2s. Now, they're not as good as the R-73. You can see me getting absolutely slammed by an SE-27 with his HMD right there. But 6 of them, and they have gotten buffed recently as well. So if you haven't seen my video, I made one recently in the Mirage 2000. Go ahead and check that out after this. But they've gotten quite a few buffs, the biggest of which are drag changes. So the Magic 2 has always been infamous for having absolutely terrible range, like even worse than the R-60. That changed recently, and while they don't have as much range as like the AIM-9L, for example, they have reasonable range now. They're not just going to fall out of the air after you launch them, and so you can fire them at like 1.5, 2 kilometers a lot of the time now and actually score reliable hits. And considering these are 35G missiles, which also have the gate with IRCCM like the R-73, they are going to track through flares very, very, very often. You've probably been seeing me doing this in the background. Like, I'll launch at somebody, they'll flare, and the Magic 2 will completely ignore their flares, and there's really nothing you can do once it gets close enough. So I know I've been doing this a lot, but I see a lot of misinfo about the different types of IRCCM. So if you don't know how the IRCCM on the R-73 and the Magic 2 works, it actually closes down the seeker head smaller than what you see after you launch it. So in this case, right, I think it's like 2.4, 2.5 degrees before you launch it. Once you launch the missile and it drops off the rail, it shrinks that field of view down to 0.75 degrees. And so that means that even if they flare, it cannot see the flares. And it's also more sensitive to non-afterburning planes' rear aspect than it is to flares, which also helps it. This is why you'll see me firing these side or sometimes even front aspect at close range, and they flare and it completely ignores their flares, and there's really nothing they can do. Now, front aspect is one of the weaknesses of the Magic, and that's because it has a longer than average proximity fuse timer. It's 1.8 seconds for the Magic 2, and now the Navy Sidelanders as well, while pretty much every other missile has a 0.5 second fuse. As long as they launch them from far enough away or they're going slow enough, it'll still work even head on, but most of the time you're going to want to stick to side or rear aspect shots, because if you fire it too close, like you're trying to do with an R-73, for example, it's just going to fly straight past the plane and not explode. One thing to note is, you see how you have those double mounts on the pylons? Well, that pylon is actually a fuel tank, and it starts up with just a little bit of extra fuel, so that's part of the reason why 20 minutes is totally fine. But I think it's bugged. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but you can't actually ditch them. So even if you run out of your Magic 2s, right, on those pylons, normally I have a control set so that it'll automatically jettison my pylons. So this won't do that. I also can't manually get it to do it. And it also says you don't have any external fuel tanks, so you can't ditch them with the fuel tank button either. I'm not sure if these actually have any weight while they're on the rail once they're empty. I hope they don't, but it is just something to keep in mind, and I will be going ahead and bug reporting that as soon as I get the chance. Overall, so far for me, this has been the most fun aircraft to play this update, with 2 reasonable SAR missiles and 6 pretty good IR missiles as well, because, I mean, who doesn't love IRCCM, right? An absolutely insane flight performance, especially in that 1v1. I've had a baller time in this jet. Now, unfortunately, I have been getting third-partied a lot, and top tier is not fun to play right now. I honestly recommend giving it some time to settle down before you try this jet out. But I mean, hey, if you're going to be playing right now, this is honestly one of the jets that I would recommend, because it has just been an absolute blast to play. There's a couple of very small grievances I have with it, and one of them is that it, quote-unquote, only has 112 countermeasures, and while that is more than enough, compared to other planes coming out like the F-15, for example, with 240, it is just a slight issue that I have, just because there's so many planes now that have IRCCM missiles. And of course, the lack of HMD is also a little bit irritating with the Magic 2s, but this isn't a jet like the S-27, for example, that really relies on it. So, the Mirage 4000 also gets an amazing kit for CAS as well. So of course, you do get a pod. This is the same one as on the Jaguar, and as you can see, it only gets night vision, it doesn't get thermals. But you do get 4 of the laser-guided Nors, which are some of the best, relatively close-range anti-tank missiles in the game. And as you can see, I'm about to get a double kill right here. In addition to that, you can also carry 2 of the 1,000 kilogram laser-guided bombs as well. And this is honestly really, really, really good. You actually get more laser-guided munitions in the Mirage 2000. As you can see right here, the 2005F can carry up to 5. I did mess up there before, sorry about that, in my video on it. But yeah, it can carry 5. This can carry 6 laser-guided munitions, which is, I mean, it's not a huge improvement, but it is an improvement. And this is also just going to get better than the Strike Mirage. That's after the Jaguars and the Tech Tree. So if you did actually go for that, well, I'm sorry, but you kind of got messed up. For everyone who didn't, I mean, now you get a shorter grind where you just have to go down the F8 line. So this has been a surprising gem. To be honest, when I saw it on the dev server, I did not think this thing was going to be good. If you go back and look at my community post, I said it was going to be a DOA, since it only had the R530F. But this has had an amazing glow up, both with the flight performance and the missiles and other ordnance as well. In any case, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all are enjoying the most. I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.